Good afternoon, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich, again, back for your second video blog of the day for Saturday, April 11th, 2015, around 4:27 p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. Nice and sunny day, highs in the 50s, a little bit breezy, but it's still spring, and the next several days we could get temperatures in the 60s, warmer temperatures, maybe some chances of rain. Spring is finally here. It's Happy National Pet Day, Happy National 8-Track Tape Day, and some news to report. Ottawa Senators clinched the first wild card in the Eastern Conference of the NHL. That's good for them. Now the Bruins need to do their job and have the Penguins lose to the Sabres, because if the Bruins win and the Sabres win, the Bruins get in the playoffs and get the second wild card spot. But if they lose, the season's done. And the Boston Red Sox beat the New York Yankees by the score of 8-4 today. And I went to the 2015 Billerica Health and Wellness Fair at the Billerica Lodge Elks. Lots of fun and cool stuff I got there, and did some contests to get some nice prizes, and got this there. I could have it on my desk. That's about it on the news. My next subject is my continuation series of professional wrestling regional organizations that are now defunct. The next one is Global Wrestling Federation. Global Wrestling Federation lasted from the summer of 1991 through the summer of 1994. It was based out of Dallas, Texas, the world's famous sportatorium, which was rebranded the Global Dome. Global Wrestling Federation had as its owners and founders Max Andrews, who was actually a syndicator of the World Class and then USWA Dallas Territory program. He was the producer and the syndicator who made deals with individual television stations. And wrestling announcer Joe Pedicino, who bore a resemblance to John Moscone. And the announcers for Global Wrestling Federation were Craig Johnson and Scott Hudson. Later on, it was Bruce Pritchard. And they had Bonnie Blackstone as the interviewer. Bonnie Blackstone in real life was married to Joe Pedicino. And they had a good syndicated lineup, which was Major League Wrestling, which was seen in about 134 markets. And also they had the 4 p.m. time slot Monday through Friday on ESPN, was the last professional wrestling program on ESPN. Global Wrestling Federation started with some great talent like The Patriot, Terry Gordy, Al Perez, Nature Boy Buddy Landell, Sweet Stan Lane, Bad News Brown, Demolition Axe, Exotic Adrian Street, Brian Adidas. They had Eddie Gilbert, One Man Gang, Cactus Jack, Rip Rogers, Scott Anthony, who eventually became Raven. They had the Lightning Kid, and who became Six and X-Pac. And they also had Jerry Lynn, and they had the titles like the North American title, the Global Wrestling Federation TV title, the Global Wrestling Federation Tag Team titles, and the Global Cruiserweight title. And they had so much, the first few months of Global, they brought in so much indie talent, which was not affiliated with WWE and WCW. And they also had segments with a news segment with Joe Pedicino telling all of the latest wrestling news from other promotions, which back then all the professional wrestling programs would not mention other wrestling organizations. They probably did not want to mention that other wrestling organizations were around, because they probably would help the competition if they mention it on the air. They mentioned some news about WCW, WWE, and USWA. And Global Wrestling Federation was getting to be very popular. They got good ratings on espn and stuff like that. They had some good angles like the Cartel, which was Cactus Jack and Scott Anthony and Rip Rogers and Moccasin, who was Norman the Lunatic, who eventually became Bastion Booger in WWE. And they said there was a mystery guy behind it. The mystery guy was Max Andrews, who was the syndicator of the program GWF, and he was also an on-screen authority figure, but that angle was quickly dropped. Patriot was the star of Global Wrestling Federation because he was North American champion. Also, the Cruiserweight champion was Lightning Kid, who had a long feud with Jerry Lynn. The tag team titles bounced around from several teams like the Simpsons, Sean and Steve, and then they had John Tatum and Rod Price and Sweet Daddy Falcone with General Skandor Akbar, who turned into a businessman during this time. He didn't wear his the chic hood. He just became a businessman and stuff like that. Eventually that went to Wild Bill Irwin and Black Bot and Jeff Ratz the Rattlesnake, which there was a long feud over that. And they had the Global Television TV title, which was held by Eddie Gilbert and eventually a couple of other people. And Eddie Gilbert was the booker of Global Wrestling Federation. Eventually the Dark Patriots came in, which was Eddie Gilbert's real-life brother, Doug Gilbert. The Dark Patriot beat the Patriot for the North American title, but then Eddie Gilbert beat the Dark Patriot for the North American title. But in April of 1992, major plans changed for Global. Global was sold to a new ownership, Northeastern Communications or Promotions, headed by Greg Pearson. He ended up firing Max Andrews and Joe Pesino, Craig Johnson, Scott Hudson, and most of the major talent, including Eddie Gilbert, the Patriot, and a few others. And then they had eventually Global turned into mainly wrestlers who were from Texas independent wrestling organizations, and the crowds were dropping like flies when Global Wrestling Federation first was around. It was selling out the Global Dome, the Dallas Sportatorium, but within a few months the crowds got down to under 100, which was not pretty good. Eventually they brought in some talent, new talent like the Bad Breed, which was Axel and Ian Rotten, and Ebony Experience, Booker T, and Stevie Ray brothers. They also had some other talent like Sam Houston and Manny Fernandez, and they also had they brought back manager Gary Hart. There was a guy hanging out with him called Sebastian, and they also had John Hawk and Bobby Duncan Jr., who John Hawk became Justin Bradshaw Layfield in the WWE, and they had other talent and stuff like that. They had some crazy matches. They had a bungee match between Stephen Dane and Chaz Taylor, which was pretty outrageous. They also had Manny Fernandez attack the announcer at the time, David Webb, but David Webb came back as he thought he was Elvis. And they had also Royal King there as the announcer eventually. Plus they brought in some old world-class wrestlers, world-class championship wrestling wrestlers like Al Perez, and they had Brett Blackbot as a heel. They brought Kerry Von Erich back for a little while, but Kerry Von Erich, this was when he was on serious drug problems and stuff like that. Kerry committed suicide in February 1993, and they had a memorial card for him for Global Wrestling Federation, which was headlined by Kevin Von Erich and Chris Adams, with Fritz Von Erich in the corner against the Fabulous Freebirds, Michael P.S. Hayes and Buddy Roberts with Skandor Akbar in the corner. This was one of the last matches Kevin Von Erich wrestled, and it was a last appearance at a wrestling event for Fritz Von Erich. And Fritz Von Erich put the Iron Claw on Skandor Akbar, and the fans were cheering and stuff like that. 4 years later, Fritz Von Erich passed away at the age of 68 in 1997. This benefit card was to support Kerry Von Erich's 2 young daughters and stuff like that. And afterwards, Global basically was focused around Chris Adams. He turned heel and he had the hair cream and stuff like that. And he was feuding with so many people like Rod Price, who turned babyface, Iceman Keen Potts, Sins, and stuff like that. He also brought back the Fabulous Freebirds, Michael P.S. Hayes, Jimmy Jam Garvin, and Terry Gordy. And Chris Adams and Jimmy Garvin will reunite and rekindling that feud that happened 10 years ago in World Class Championship Wrestling. And then Global went to ESPN2 in when that network started in October of 1993, but the company was losing big time money. They were not paying their bills on time for the Dallas Sportatorium, and in September of 1994, Global Wrestling Federation was terminated, were disbanded because of problems with paying bills on time at the Dallas Sportatorium. Plus, it was basically Texas independent wrestlers back and forth, and Global Wrestling Federation was basically the last major professional wrestling promotion to be in Dallas, Texas at Sportatorium. They had a few others, like Jim Crockett tried to revitalize NWA in the Dallas territory there, but it didn't, and they tried to have a couple others, but it flopped. The Dallas Sportatorium eventually was torn down in 2003 because of being aged and not having any events. What did I think of Global Wrestling Federation? It was kind of an alternative to WWE and WCW during this time. The professional wrestling world did not have a number 3 promotion in the early 90s, and Global was trying to become the number 3 professional wrestling promotion, and they had some problems with the ownership and stuff like that. There was rumors that they were going to have a pay-per-view. They had some benefactor, which was from Nigeria, but you know what people are from Nigeria? The scam artist. And I think that thing was a scam trying to be on pay-per-view, so luckily they didn't fall for that. The Global Wrestling Federation owners at the time, where they probably wouldn't be around for 3 years. They'd more likely be around for 3 months. And Global Wrestling Federation had some great talent who became stars in WWE and WCW, which is pretty good. The tape library of Global Wrestling Federation is owned by the WWE, and it's probably going to show up at the WWE Network sooner rather than later, because they're going to probably be adding more classic wrestling programs. They'll probably have to change the music on some of it. That's about it on Global Wrestling Federation. And tomorrow we'll end the professional wrestling regional territories. I'll be mentioning about Portland Wrestling, which was around from 1947 through 1992, owned by Don Owens. And the third and final video blog of the night will be about the great one, Wayne Gretzky, number 99, of the Edmonton Oilers, Los Angeles Kings, St. Louis Blues, and New York Rangers. Continuing on the series of great ones for the video blogs for the next 4 nights after I get through Wayne Gretzky. Tomorrow, it's Julie Broughton's turn to get her first video blog for the personality profile. Everybody's been waiting for that. Have a good day, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. See you tonight.